Welcome back, all you fabricants and flashbacks, to the super, not funny show, Gamercast. I am Mole Poupée, your resident fabricant and commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'm joined by my good friend, Lottie, who, as you know, is a video game enthusiast, to say the least. Probably the biggest gamer I know. And who better to come in and, pontificate and elaborate on what's going on in video gaming than Lottie. So, Lottie, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Really good gaming news that we can go over. Really excited about what the future of gaming is going to be. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about it.
Absolutely. And since it's our first episode, the very first episode, issue 1, if you will, of the Gamercast for the Super Not Funny show, I guess we should break it down exactly what we talk about on the Gamercast. Obviously, video games, but we're going to be talking about, I guess, developments in video game technology, new games. I mean, we do all that stuff. We're going to cover all of it because we do like video games here at the Super Not Funny show. And so today, we are going to, I suppose, we're going to break the cherry, so to speak, on the Gamercast by talking about two kind of big deals going on with gaming hardware that's coming up over the next, I suppose, 6 to 8 months, or things are going to be changing. Yeah. And so, first of all, the two topics we're going to discuss today, we are going to talk about Valve's new Steam Deck, the little portable Steam OS hardware, and then also we're going to talk about some upcoming new CPU releases. So we're going to dive into all of that. So first, let's talk about this the big elephant in the room that comes in a tiny package apparently. Let's talk about the Steam Deck. So Lottie, just let the folks out there know, what the heck is a Steam Deck anyway? It sounds like, something that powered some old steamboat or something up and down the Mississippi. What is that?
First of all, let's just be honest. It's a stupid name. Valve, you could have came up with the Steam Drive.
They should have changed something. Yeah, they should have changed they should have changed one letter and it would have sounded a lot more like my show.
Yes.
Just change the E to the I, and then it'd be like, so what are you doing? And I'm playing with my Steam Deck.
I don't know what Valve was thinking when they said, "Hey, let's call it the Steam Deck." Because I remember I recently asked on a little bulletin board, FSU bulletin board that I'm on, and I asked them, "Is anybody buying a Steam Deck?" And they all thought I was talking about like a deck that you put outside your house, and I'm like, "No, the console." And they were like, "They named it that?" I was like, "Yeah." It was such a bad name, but.
I'm just imagining like what were their marketing department? What are they paying their marketing guys for? So we have a portable thing. What can we name it? Well, Nintendo names their shit stupid things. They call theirs a Switch. Let's name ours a deck. Yeah, because that works. It's
so many things.
Well, to be fair, does anyone ever name their shit like their portables anything that's not nonsensical, like the PS Vita?
The PS Vita. They should have just called it the PSP too. I don't know.
PlayStation 4. I don't know. That's Vita.
I think the only people that were good and hands down made some of the greatest gaming console names of all time is Sega. Their console is called the Game Gear. One of the greatest. Sega just knows how to name their consoles.
I wish they knew I wish they knew how to make their consoles be successful. That's just the only thing. But anyway, we're gonna stop shitting on the name. It's just a name. But what's going on with the hardware though?
Oh yeah, this is one of those things that we knew it was coming eventually, because like I said, AMD is making the CPU, which really is just an APU for anybody out there. An APU is literally just a CPU with a graphics card built into it, so it's basically the brain and the heart of the whole console. Basically, what they're doing now is it's basically a portable PS4, base PS4. It has the power of the PS4. It probably is not as powerful as the PS4 when it's in handheld mode. When you're walking around playing it, it's probably just a little bit weaker, probably like in between a PS3 and a PS4. But when it's docked, you're pretty much playing PS4. And what makes this so significant is that Nintendo, not too long ago, released their Switch OLED, which was $349, and the Steam Deck lowest version is coming in at $399.
Right.
And we've heard rumors that Steam was coming out with a handheld console, but no one ever really believed it.
Yeah. Well, I would note that as the resident casual gamer, I don't follow this stuff. I pick things up when I feel like it, but I literally don't follow any of this stuff. So when this came up on my newsfeed, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, okay, I guess Steam is this. I was like, is it a new Switch? I was like, oh, it's not a Switch. It's a handheld computer. Oh, okay. It looks like the Switch, but like whoever decided that they wanted to make sure you cramp your hand up. So I mean, but I'm intrigued. My thing is as a casual gamer. You can wow me with bells and whistles and telling me that I can play my Steam games that I don't currently actually play, but I could potentially play them on the run. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So, and by the way, I did want to mention some of the specs of this thing. The one you're talking about. So there's some problems, I think, with the idea behind this thing, and I think they become pretty obvious once I start talking about the specs. The main spec that you were talking about the GPU / CPU. So you're right. There's got an APU. It's got 4-core, 8 thread. Clock speed is supposed to be between 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz. It is an AMD chip, and my PC runs on an AMD chip, so I'm down with that. In fact, my laptop does too. It's got 16 gigabytes, and none of this, by the way, if you're a casual, none of this shit means anything to you. It's 16 gigabytes LPDDR5, what 32-bit quad channel. I don't know what that's supposed to do for anything, but okay.
Well, basically, it's the latest RAM that you can get is DDR5. It's not desktop DDR5, but it's like it's a mobile DDR5, which that means that it's like it will never run out of RAM, basically.
Right. Well, apparently, from what I've read and listened to people talk about it, it's apparently because it's an APU, and the two parts of the chip are going to be competing for memory. Having that much memory and having a big quad channel is important. So it's all about bandwidth and throughput. So I get that.
Yeah.
It's got a 7-inch LCD touchscreen, which I found interesting. The one thing about this that I noticed is that they acknowledge that this thing is playing games that aren't meant to be played in this manner. So they're making it as easy as possible to sort of interact with your game. So you get the touch screen, you have the dual analog sticks with the conventional controller bumpers and triggers and whatnot, and the buttons, the face buttons as you'd expect. But then they have those little track pads too, the dual track pads, which I found interesting, especially how it may pertain to maybe playing first-person shooters, which I don't play because I'm terrible at. But it seems interesting. But and it's got a lot of other conventional things that you would expect from maybe a tablet or a tablet laptop or something. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. USB-C, with DisplayPort. It's gonna have a dock. It's apparently it weighs something like 1.5 pounds. The display is 1280 by 800, so that's not. I mean, it's not awesome. It's not terrible either, considering it's portable. So, and it looks like a Nintendo Switch that you can't take the sides off. You can't take the controller off of.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to admit, it looks pretty nice. Except I can tell that those buttons, the face buttons, are going to be a pain in the ass to play with. So that's why I was talking about hand cramping. So,
well, it's from some of the things that I've heard, like people who have tried early models of it, they say yes, it might hurt your hands for certain games, but they built this game that people will play, like for example, like a game like Doom. You know what I mean? Like, sort of like, it looks, like I said, like if you're playing games like, for example, Ori, like those platformers, it might hurt your hands. But if you're playing games like Doom, Call of Duty, it feels extremely comfortable from what I've heard.
Well, and I could see that. I can also see that, just like with the Switch and with the other previous consoles, that the third-party aftermarket parts that will make the controlling
Make it
aspect
better, yeah.
And there's also, of course, the aspect that if you dock it, you can sit there and play on it with an external controller, like a PS4 controller or something, anything. Because currently, if you want to, you can just you can connect your PS4 controller or Xbox One controller to your PC anyway. So I mean, you could do that. If you put it on the dock, the good, and if I were to get this, I would get obviously I'm gonna have to pay for the dock, because that allows you to then plug in USB peripherals and the like, because I don't necessarily see myself, if owning this, I wouldn't necessarily want to be walking around playing with the controllers that are on there, not too long. And also, this is an issue. There's a couple things, like I said, that's kind of what the hell with this. One of them is battery. Battery's a huge damn thing. Like, ask Nintendo, they'll always trade off power for battery life. Every time, every single one of their consoles that can be portable, they trade off the power of the console for the battery life. And that's why that's what made, among other things, that made Nintendo's portable so popular, was, besides the fact that they are hard wearing, so kids could drop them and shit and they'd still work, they could be played for many hours, like hours, even on like AA's and shit like that when it was the Game Boys. But when you had the rechargeables, they could be played for a long time, because the power requirements of the CPU and the rest of the hardware was not strenuous. And that's the thing here. It's clear that this is a powerful little PC, and that battery is not up to the task, as far as I can tell. 2 hours at high spec on portable? No thanks. I can't imagine that I would be doing that, but still, I mean, if you wanted to, I don't want to be tethered to the wall. That's like when you have when you fuck up your battery memory on your phone, you're always having to fucking plug your phone in. I'm good on that.
It's pretty much like this console, this thing is not, of course, the people that are going to buy it are the super hardcore, PC fans. They just want, especially the new tech enthusiasts. I personally am not going to buy it because I don't have any use for it. But what I see that this is going to do, it's going to take the 8 to 15-year-old audience away from Nintendo.
Right.
Because a lot of those kids that age, they don't play a lot of Nintendo games in the sense of like Mario, Legend of Zelda and stuff. They want to play games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends. They want to play games like that, which Nintendo can play, but it plays very terribly. Even docked.
Right.
This can play at 60 FPS undocked, and it can play up to 120 FPS docked. So this is basically what this is. This is like buying, especially if you buy the 64 gigabyte one, which we can talk about memory a little bit later.
Yes. Well, that was another thing I was going to say. Like one of the other like downsides to this. Like I get what you're saying about younger people. I could believe it, because I think younger people are really, they get that about the Switch, even though, like you said, the Switch's hardware is not up to task of some of the games that are really more popular.
Yeah.
And I get that they're trying to sort of be a portable Switch type alternative, and they have a vast library and all that stuff with Steam. I get that. I think that they're one of the problems that they should have anticipated is the stratification of the hardware base. By that I mean that they have three different levels of this thing, from $400 to $650, and that's not good. Like that's not the way consoles work. Even the PS4 was it Pro?
Yeah.
And the Xbox One X.
One
They came out later in the console's life cycle to cater to higher end people who wanted higher end gaming, but they didn't change. They basically were cosmetic. They made things cosmetically better, and maybe things are a little bit faster, but the base Xbox One and the base PS4 still played the same games and had its base resolution and et cetera, and this whole little different, the eMMC, and mind you, again, super casual over here, but I do know a little bit about computers. The eMMC versus the what is the other one called? The NVMe.
Yes,
like that sounds to me like that's a significant difference.
Yeah, it's completely different. But here's the thing: the creator of, not the creator, the CEO of Steam said you can add an NVMe drive to it if you want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would need to see that, because I'm dang it, if I'm buying something like this, I have zero desire to open up anything.
Oh yeah, see, I agree with that, but it's like one of those things that is like, it's nice that there's an option, and it's one of those things that I feel like today's youth, especially the kids that are towards that 12 to 15 range, they can literally pretty much do it, because it's really shocking how, like, stuff that we didn't start doing until we were like in our 20s, kids are learning this stuff off of YouTube, how to build a computer, how to change out an NVMe. There won't be much of a problem for that. The only thing that is going to be a little bit of a problem is the NVMe size. It's 2230. It's the smallest one, and only very few companies make them, and that's like Samsung, Toshiba. Very few companies make it, and they only go up to about 1 terabyte.
Right.
But you can also upgrade the memory through micro SD if you want to.
Which again, you got to make sure. Who knows, but probably you can't just get a cheapo.
You can't get a cheap one. You're gonna have to get
it. So this isn't just if you get the lowest level one, it's not just $400 for the console, plus tax for the console. It's also, that's not enough. 64 gigabytes is laughable, absolutely laughable for any modern game. So if you want to have any number, if you don't want to keep downloading, playing, deleting, etc., if you don't want to be doing that, you're gonna have to upgrade. So now you're gonna have to pop even more money down for a decently sized
I think they should have, like, in my opinion, they should have had a 128 NVMe SSD version. That should have been the lowest version because the 220, the 2230 goes all the way down to 128. They should have at least did that to where they can at least download Call of Duty and Apex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because really, you can't, the 64 gigabytes, you can't download any online shooter at all. No online shooter is 64 gigabytes. Call of Duty, Fortnite, none of them are that. But at least if it was 128, you can at least have Call of Duty and, you know what I mean? Because both of them are around 70 gigabytes, you know what I mean? But I feel, like I said, this definitely has a shortcoming. The Steam Deck definitely has its shortcomings, but the thing that I like about it is that, one, I love seeing new technology like this coming to the market, and then two, it's going to bring innovation to the handheld market, because Nintendo's had such a grip on the handheld market to the point that Nintendo literally, like, let's just be honest, the Switch OLED was a slap in the face of every Nintendo fan out there. Because not only did they create a Switch OLED that has the same specs of the Nintendo Switch, they charging $50 more. That's just disrespectful. Like, honestly, like, I don't know how people can continuously say Nintendo is consumer friendly. Because honestly, I thought what they're going to do, if the Switch OLED was not going to be an improvement, what they're going to do is charge $299 for it and drop the price of the Switch. Because a lot of people don't know, Nintendo is making buku money off of a Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah, well absolutely. Nintendo, they don't sell any console at a loss for very long. Within the first 6 to 8 months of a console's life, they start making money on it. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I get that. Yeah. I think I don't know if I believe that this Steam Deck is going to have any real. I don't think it's going to have any real impact on Nintendo, because they always go their own way. But my thing, really, why I don't think so, is because I really don't think that this is as mainstream a product as maybe they want it to become. Now, I could obviously I could be wrong, but I feel like there's a few things that are going against it becoming a mainstream product.
But here are like two of my reasons why I think it will cause Nintendo to backpace and start looking at it. One, the price is very competitive to the Switch. You know what I mean? It's only $50 more. You know, if you were like, let's be honest, if you had the money and you were buying your daughter either the Switch OLED or this for $50, you could be honest.
Oh, I'm going with the Switch because my daughter, she's more super casual than I am.
Okay.
Her understanding of games are based on whatever's on the iPad, and Roblox and Minecraft. Like she's like, for real, she knows about these other things, maybe watches people that play them on YouTube or whatever, but she has a Switch, and she's not really a gamer any more than anyone else is. That just casually plays. So she knows who Mario is. If I bought her this, what would I get her? What would I get her to play on it? I know there's 1,000,001 things on Steam. I'm not saying that there aren't games. My question is there anything on there that she'll recognize that isn't like Fortnite or something like that? And she doesn't play Fortnite. So this to me, this is part of the problem is that it's aimed at people like me, which is I don't think I'm representative of the gaming market. I mean, I have a Switch that collects dust because it's just, it was fun when I first got it, but I don't game enough to but I have it. And this is the same thing. It's like it's as a gaming console, is it going to get me to play more than I do now? And maybe, I mean, but maybe not. I mean, I've got a PlayStation 4 that has plenty of games on it that I don't play very often. I'm more likely to play Street Fighter than anything else, and even then. So, but it also, I'm intrigued because I like the idea, which they sold of, hey, this really still is just a PC, you know.
Yeah,
and I
see,
have a Steam library of games
yeah.
that I could conceivably play on this thing.
And you see, there's the thing. My brother's fiance's daughter. My brother already said he's going to buy this for her because my brother's fiance daughter is a gamer, but she doesn't. She has a Switch and she doesn't play it because she doesn't like Mario. She doesn't like all these games. She likes Fortnite. She plays a lot of Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, games like that, Minecraft. And the thing that a lot of people don't talk about with this Steam Deck, that I don't see anybody talk about, you know, it's another thing that's going to make this Steam Deck very powerful, and it's going to be talked about when it comes out. You can get Xbox Game Pass on this.
Oh yeah. I thought I read that. There's, there are some. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't think that, like, I'm saying it, that there's a possibility that this could be, it could penetrate the market better, but on its surface, it's PC gaming. So
yes, PC gaming on the go,
which seems like nice, but a lot of people like it. One thing, if you take out the guesswork, out of it, that PC gaming can sort of be a little too opaque to your average consumer. They just want to get up and game, right? Part of that, what gets in the way of that, is the Steam. I mean, Steam is a great service and system, but also it's a little too opaque. Like, I mean, but I think one thing that Nintendo has sort of taught people how to buy from a store. So you get Steam, you got the Steam store. What would really kind of push this into overdrive would be if they could partner with some developers, some publishers, and do some kind of Microsoft Game Pass, PlayStation Now sort of situation where they could stream to that thing, because then that makes the hard. Sorry, did you lose me for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I hit a button. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
But no, if they could come up with some sort of game streaming service, where instead of just selling games, they can still sell games, but if they can stream games too, that makes this hardware less of a problem, because it's not doing all of the heavy lifting. Now, if they could play AAA games and stream it to that thing like a PlayStation Now or Microsoft Game Pass, that's attractive. That is something that you could maybe justify to a person like me.
But you can also get PlayStation Now on it. I just thought about it because it is a PC, so you can get PlayStation Now as well on it too.
Now you're making a better case for this. But I don't want to. I'm sure I could put Grand Theft Auto 4 on this fucking thing, and it played just fine. But what about GTA 5? Because GTA 5 is online. GTA Online is huge right now. It still has a big. What about MMOs? What about, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of possibility, but it's the same as PC gaming. You still have the same problem, which is all of that choice is not something that an average casual gaming person is looking for. Like, I mean, again, I'm super casual. I've got Steam. I got a ton of games that I've had for a decade, and I don't play them, but I will boot up my PlayStation because it's just there, and I can just sit at my couch and do it. If this can deliver that, I'm interested.
And to be honest with you, because I don't have any kids, but if I did, I've always been like looking for a console that was sort of portable, but also not portable at the same time, that my kids can play while I can have my console to myself, my PlayStation to myself or my PC to myself. They don't have to get onto my stuff, and I don't have to buy them a full-on PC. I don't have to spend, like, for example, if I had a kid, I will buy this for my kid. I will buy this for my kid because I wouldn't have to buy them a gaming I won't have to buy them a gaming console. I won't have to build them a PC. I can just give them this. It's all those in one. They can just dock it and they can play on their TV or their monitor or whatever. And if they want to come out to the living room and sit next to me while I'm playing my game or I'm watching TV, they can do that as well.
Right.
And that's why I feel like this proof of concept, it's not really for us, our age group. It's more for those teenagers and the teenagers that are actual gamers. This is not for casual gamers whatsoever. This is for that, like I said, like I can see a lot of, like, for example, I follow a lot of football recruiting. I could see a lot of these like football recruits that play a lot of NCAA Madden. They play all these NCAA Madden tournaments and all that stuff. I could see those kids having this when they go on these recruiting trips, or a really good idea I can think of, instead of Florida, like, for example, Florida State, they have a recruiting trip. Florida State can just buy a bunch of these and just have them all link up and they're playing like a Madden tournament or something like that. And it's something that I see working well for the youth, but only for the hardcore. Because I completely agree with you mean. Like, your daughter, she's a casual gamer. This is not for her whatsoever. She doesn't know about Steam Game. But I know a lot of kids, because my friend, our mom's friend, her son is 14 now. And he tells me he plays Call of Duty, Fortnite, he plays Doom, he plays all these things. But he tells me all the time that, he wishes he could play it on the go. Because, he's really good at soccer and he goes all over the place. This will be the perfect thing for him. You know what I mean? He will love this because Switch can't do it. Nintendo literally can't do this. And what makes this, I believe, it's not only because there's also rumors going on that Microsoft and Sony are potentially keeping an eye on this, because this sold out. This sold out in the millions. Mm-hmm. The real people that can come in and truly give Nintendo the run for their money, they're watching this thing. And if they see that this thing is selling just 1 million copies and it can stay alive for about a year or two, you best believe Sony and Microsoft is going to come out with a handheld console. Because what is it for Sony just to make a PlayStation 4 portable? Because this...
Yeah. I mean, do we need another console war, like handheld console war, though? Like,
kinda, yeah, because Nintendo needs to drop their prices because they're tripping.
Well, I mean, but they traditionally have not really been responsive to other people because they're not playing in the same game as with the Switch. The same way they're not playing the same game with the new generations from PlayStation and Xbox. They play their own game, and so somebody else rolling. I'm sure they'll be like, "Good for you guys," but this is not. I don't think this is a competitor to the Switch. It doesn't. I don't think like one.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's definitely not a competitor. But what it can do, it can bring competition, because I always want competition because I don't want stagnation. Because right now, what's it called? Stagnating. Nintendo is stagnating. Nintendo, just the Switch OLED alone shows Nintendo has gotten to the point that they feel that they can throw whatever they want at their fans, and their fans will buy it.
To be fair, it's true. How many people? Were jumping up and down for the Nintendo Classic? How many people keep begging them to release shit that they played before like 1 million times onto the Switch, the shop? So like a lot of their core audience is nostalgic and willing to pay dumb amounts of money for old stuff or new iterations of old stuff, and
that's
an occasional new IP.
Yeah, because that's honestly Nintendo's market is not really as much kids as people think anymore. Because like a lot of people think that kids play Mario, and I've asked all of my friends who have kids, all of my some of my mom's friends who have kids, their kids don't play Mario. They don't play Mario. I feel like it's taken Nintendo, because I really don't think it's because kids don't like Mario. I think it takes Nintendo so long to make Mario games now that kids don't have interest in it anymore. Because let's just be honest, Mario Galaxy came out in 2007, and Mario Odyssey didn't come out until 2017. That's 10 years that a mainstay Super Mario game was not out. If a kid was born in 2007, by 2017 he or she's already 10. They're not going to be as interested in Mario anymore. When we were kids, Mario games came out all the time. It was like clockwork. There was a new Mario game all the time. Super Mario this, Super Mario that, Super Mario that. But now they're taking so long to make them, including Zelda, that kids are now starting to leave Nintendo and start looking elsewhere. They're starting to look towards the more third-party games because they're constantly in their face. Like I said, most Nintendo fans now, the ones that are paying the big cash Nintendo, are us. The people who are paying, like you said, big bucks for nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hundreds of dollars for nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Or I must say not I, because...
Well, of course, I don't do it.
I have exactly 2 games for the Switch, and
my brother bought me a Switch, and I have no. He bought me the Switch because I wanted Metroid 5 that's coming out soon.
Right.
But I literally have no inkling to buy a Switch game. My brother's like, why don't you buy Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? I'm like, that game came out almost 3 years ago, and it's still $60. There's no way I'm paying that.
Well,
there's no way I'm paying that.
I will definitely say that is one of the strengths, one of the good selling points of the Steam Deck, is that Steam. No one can ever say, oh shit, I don't have anything to play. Like, there's a gigantic library of a diverse. Yeah. The diversity of content on Steam is it's overwhelming, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
but
I'm on Steam right now, and I'm looking at their sales. You can get Resident Evil 3, a game that came out last year, for $20.
Yeah, and they're always having sales, and they are serious sales, and then there's holiday sales. So I mean, you can amass if you actually do want to get into PC gaming, you could amass a pretty sizable library of new and old titles for discounts of sometimes up to 75% off, depending on what it is and how old it is and whatever. And so that is one. The library is there. That's also a strike against the Steam Deck, because as well as I do that one of the best reasons to have a console is that it has a set hardware specification, and every game is built to it. And unfortunately for Steam Deck, it technically is a PC, so it should be able to run things, but also it's running Linux, a version of Linux to run the Steam OS. So then playing compatibility between Windows only games and all of that's an issue. And then you have what is, in my opinion, the reason why people try to avoid PC gaming, which is hardware obsolescence. So eventually this is fixed hardware that you can't upgrade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a few years, what the fuck are you going to do with this thing besides play old games? I'm serious. In a few years, what are you going to do with this thing besides play old games?
And that's one of the things that I feel like this is the first thing. If they want to continually make this, they have to make it somewhat upgradable. And when I mean somewhat upgradable, it can at least survive 2 generations. Like, for example, a computer motherboard. Most computers like Intel, it's every 2 generations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This generation, that generation, they can upgrade it. So I think it should, at least, if they're going to do it, and to be honest with you, I think gaming consoles do the same thing. Gaming consoles should be upgradable. I really think the fixed hardware.
But now the fixed hardware, that's the strength of it, because at least for the life of that console, that any game that comes out is going to play on your console. Even
I see what you're saying.
But this one, you can't. This isn't going to be true because it's a PC. It's technically a PC. PC gaming is always pushing the envelope, pushing forward. So in 3 years, the AAA titles 3 years from now won't be able to run. They can barely run on it now, right, at lower specs. In 3 years, they won't be able to run on this unless they have some kind of game streaming service.
Well, see, and here's another thing that the Steam Deck magically happened that AMD has came up with that is going to make this thing last a lot longer. FSR. FSR is going to really help the Steam Deck. It's going to help. It's even going to help. I just found out that you can get FSR on the PS4. I cannot believe it.
I don't know what that is.
So, you know DLSS, right?
I don't know what that is either.
Okay, so basically, it's this super sampling software. What it does, like, for example, if you want to play a game at 4K and you put it at ultra quality, what it will do, it will lower the resolution to, I want to say 1800p, but it will look 4K. It will look 4K, and it will push out more frames. So what it does, it lowers the resolution, the native resolution, but it upscales the textures to the resolution. Like, for example, if I'm playing a game at 4K, it pushes down the resolution to 1880p. I mean, not 1800p, but it pushes the textures to 4K textures. What that allows it to do is that it looks like you're playing a game. It's still 4K. It still looks 4K. The only way you can tell the difference if you put if you sit right in front of your monitor, like you have your eyes literally inches away from your monitor. That's the only way you're going to be able to tell the difference. So this allows it to push more frames. So what this will do is that, for example, let's say in dock mode, it's playing Call of Duty. Yeah, let's say it's playing Call of Duty 1080p, 120 FPS. If you put it in ultra quality, it'll probably drop the resolution to 900p. Instead of 1080p, it drops it to 900p. But all the textures are 1080p. And instead of getting 120 FPS, you're getting about 160 FPS. You see what I'm saying? It extends the life. Because now, even the PS4, which was considered dead because of the PS5, FSR came out, because literally AMD's giving this to anything. I don't think Nintendo wants it though, because Nintendo is with Nvidia, so Nvidia's probably not going to let Nintendo get it, which sucks, by the way. That would have really helped the Nintendo Switch. But it's allowing it to extend the life of the console. So, like, let's say this would have had maybe 2 years of life. This might ink out another year and a half, or maybe 2 years, another 2 years of life for this thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can see that. I mean, there are ways to get around it. And I know it really kind of seems like I'm down on. I honestly.
No, you're not down on it. You have the same view that I have. I just see it. I'm looking towards that age range. For me, I have no plans on buying this whatsoever. I'm trying to figure out what to do about it. This is because, the computer that is my gaming computer, also that I do recording and whatever on.
it's upstairs in where I am now, which is in my little recording closet. And downstairs is where the living room and PlayStation and the couch and everything is. And I have a laptop that I have for doing PC stuff downstairs, but it's not powerful enough. I was being a cheapskate, so I did not get a true gaming laptop. So I can run Steam games on it, but it's not really what it won't run Street Fighter 5 on regular resolution. I have to play it on low res. So which means I can't actually play it online against anybody because it would just chug along, right? So in my mind, if this thing can play Street Fighter 5, or if it can play it at regular resolution and all that other stuff, I would get it just so I could have it downstairs, so I can actually play online downstairs, because I don't want to play on PlayStation. It's the whole idea is that I don't want to hog the living room TV, so I want to be able to be downstairs, play Street Fighter, but not hog the TV. And the alternative is build a gaming PC right now while PC parts are stupidly expensive.
So yeah.
Or maybe pop for however much for the mid-range one of these things, and have that for downstairs. So it's attractive in that way, and the fact that I have not a ton, but I got a decent amount of Steam games. But on the other hand, I don't play video games enough for this.
Yeah,
it's an interesting. It's just an interesting piece of hardware. I'm not sure if it's a smart move. I don't know if this is going to change the game or anything like that. I do think it is a real swing. They're taking a big swing at this, because it's one thing to make the Steam OS. That's no big deal. It's software, or to make the little Steam Steam, what the hell was it? The thing that you connect to your TV. That's that's or the little the NVIDIA Shield. Or it's one thing to make little things like that. This is a legit piece of hardware, and so I guess Valve they really must think that this is the way into competing with the big three, and I don't think they're right, but it certainly will be interesting to see how they navigate the whole thing, because it's it could be great. It also could be a gigantic waste of money. So I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
And I'm also thinking, I think also this might not also just be for this console may not be Steam's only plans, because I've heard that Steam is offering Steam OS, this the little OS that they have on this thing.
Right.
They're offering it to anybody who wants to make a handheld console.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just they just want to make their own it's sort of like, I think this is like they kind of want to become the Google of handhelds, sort of like.
Or
they'll come out with their
a Google of gaming, like it's just kind of everywhere.
Yeah, they come out with their own console every so often, but pretty much everything has its own. Because Sony tried this with the Vita, because the Vita had its own OS, which by the way was extremely superior than even, I would say it's far superior than even the Steam OS and the Nintendo's OS. Like, it was so good that Sony was like, people were begging them to put it on cell phones. Sony abandoned the handheld market.
Right.
But it's like, I think their OS could work, that you could start seeing it pop up on different handhelds, stuff like that. But you don't even know. You don't know. This is sort of like the Xbox thing. Xbox really is Game Pass. They're really their agenda is Game Pass, You don't know. Xbox, in their opinion, they feel like they win if even if a new Xbox doesn't come out next generation. If PlayStation has Game Pass on it, Microsoft feels like they won. You know what I mean?
Right.
In their opinion. I really don't think Microsoft cares about selling consoles. They care about that Game Pass. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. That's the thing. And it's sort of like, you don't know. Their whole thing, the Steam Deck may be really Steam pushing out their OS to the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Having people realize that, because it's like the same thing. I didn't know what Steam was until I got into building a PC. Literally, I didn't know what Steam was. Like, if you would have asked me what Steam was 2.5 years ago, I literally would be like, what, are you talking about literal Steam? I did not think you'll be talking about at like a massive gaming store.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first talked about it, I was like, yeah, I've got a ton of stuff, and I've had it for a long time. And, you know, I see what they're trying to get at. You know, Valve is less about making games nowadays than they are about facilitating you getting games. You know, they make more money off of the store than they do off of actually making games. That's why you don't have another Half-Life right now. Half-Life 3.
They have no inkling to make it.
Yeah, why would they? Other people make games and they have the store. And you're right, the Google comparison is pretty sound. So, I think overall it's intriguing. I guess we'll see. Let's just say color me skeptical about it. But you know, if next time maybe next year I'll be like, well, I got my Steam Deck, so we shall see. So, all right, I think we've fairly covered that particular thing. Steam Deck coming next year. I'm sure they're not going to have problems with having consoles on deck like a certain manufacturer that put out a new console. And I'm saying that facetiously because I'm almost certain that they will. So they're new to this game, so I'm pretty sure that they will have problems with sourcing. But we'll see. We're gonna see next year. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm gonna turn the Gamercast over to you, sir, because I know this next particular topic is near and dear to your heart because you're a hardware junkie. So why don't you tell us what we're about to talk about?
Oh yeah, so I want to talk about the upcoming Intel CPU that's coming out, Alder Lake, and I also want to talk about how this is going to change. This is going to bring change to the gaming industry. Really, not just Alder Lake. There are also their own graphics cards that are coming out soon. How this is going to bring change to the gaming industry as we know it when it comes to hardware. Because I feel like we're at that point where gaming is about to have this massive leap in performance because we've been stagnant for so long. Because I'm pretty sure you can attest, let's be honest, a lot of people might completely disagree with what I'm saying, but the jump between the PS3 to the PS4 era was not big at all. I don't care what anybody says, it was not that big. Literally, the games on PS4, the beginning games on PS4 literally looked almost exactly like the PS3 games. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the PS2 to the PS3 where it was like massive jump. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now with the PS5, the PS4 to the PS5 is a massive jump. And mainly they're doing this because AMD has become the kings of CPUs, and they're giving NVIDIA everything they want in graphics cards. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about Alder Lake with is because Intel has, for the last couple of years, have been very, very stagnant on their CPUs. They've been stuck on the 14 nanometer process. Just to give people perspective, AMD right now is on 7 nanometer. literally half the size of what Intel is on. And AMD next generation is going to be on 5 nanometer. Intel is just getting to 10 nanometer. AMD was on 10 nanometer 3 or 4 years ago. So Intel Alder Lake is coming out. It's going to be a new CPU that uses this new architecture that has never been seen before. It's called Big Little. What they're going to use is 8 big cores, 8 traditional desktop cores, and they're going to use 8 small cores that are sort of like comparable to like a cell phone, a laptop and a cell phone. A lot of people are very skeptical about this because they're like, it's just an 8-core processor with just small cores. But what they don't understand is that the difference between the power of an 8 to 16 core is really not that big of a difference. What it is all mainly about is efficiency. It's what it's mainly about. So Intel is coming out with these small cores that I think it's like one core is two small cores equal one big core. So what they're going to allow is they're going to make these 8 big cores super powerful, and these 8 small cores are going to be very efficient, being able to do other tasks. And what this really helps is in gaming, mostly because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff that happens on screen in gaming. And there's a lot of stuff that game developers want to put in games that they can't because it's almost impossible because you'll be straining the cores. But with this small core architecture, you can literally have one of these cores, those small cores, dedicated to just particle effects or sound, or really improving on quality of life. And Intel's coming out, which I'm really excited for. This CPU's coming out soon, and AMD is starting to take notice of it. AMD's even talking about having Big Little, not in the near future, but probably Zen 5, which probably by Zen, because right now we're on Zen 3. Zen 5 is probably going to come out right at the time when the next console generation is going to come out.
Right.
So this is where I go into how Intel's Alder Lake is going to be. If Intel's Alder Lake is good, this is going to change gaming for the good forever. Games are not this generation, not the PS5, Xbox Series X generation, but the PX6 or whatever Xbox wants to call it generation. Games are going to look absolutely different. I can't even say stunning because we don't know what they're going to look like. You don't know. They might go for photorealism. Maybe we go and we jump into virtual reality. Who knows? There's so many different things you can do with these Big Little cores. This new architecture that's coming out. And also, Intel is making their own graphics cards, which is really big because Intel, because it's AMD and NVIDIA. Those are the only people that make graphics cards and that constantly fight each other. Intel is putting a lot of money into their graphics card called Z. It's called ZDG2. It's supposed to come out early next year, 2022. It's supposed to have the performance of like a 3070, between a 3070 Ti, a 6800. Most people listening to that be like, those are graphics card performance that came out last year. So they're like, Intel's coming out with a graphics card that existed last year. But what they don't understand is this. This is Intel's first ever graphics card. If their first ever graphics card is on the power of AMD's and NVIDIA's high mid-range on their first try, that is massive. Imagine their second generation graphics cards. And what I've heard, when it comes to workstation, like doing stuff like rendering, editing videos, it's supposed to be more powerful than the 3090. Intel's encoding on the graphics card is through the roof. And I say this, how this is going to affect gaming, because AMD makes graphics cards for the consoles as well. And AMD wants to win. And if Intel comes out with a graphics card that comes out of nowhere and beats AMD, AMD is going to feel like they have to respond. And then on top of that, NVIDIA feels like they're going to have to respond. And this is going to help out gamers, especially console gamers, because the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are on par. Like, honestly, I tell people this all the time. If you just want a game, please do not buy a PC. If that's the only thing you want to do, if you just want to game, do not waste your money on a PC. Buy a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. You will not regret it. They are as powerful as a $1,500 computer for $500.
Right.
You can't. Even if you buy a PS5 Scout for $700, you're literally saving half of your money. It's price for performance on the Xbox Series X and PS5. It's nowhere near. It's ridiculous compared to PC. And you see what I'm saying? The jump of what the PS5 is now. Imagine the PS6 with what I was just saying, with how games are, how the hardware that's coming out soon, the consoles that are going to come out next generation, even if the consoles cost $700, even if they cost $700, which I highly doubt, Xbox and Microsoft and Sony are unlike Nintendo, will definitely take $100 to $200 loss on selling consoles, because they believe in selling games more than they do selling consoles.
Right.
So console gamers will really benefit next generation. Really, they'll be getting probably $2,000 performance in a $500 box.
Which you should note that next generation is like 5.5 years from now. So.
Oh yeah, 5. It's definitely, it's not. This generation just started, so this is 2025, 2026. Not anytime soon, but it's coming. But it's on the horizon, and this can lead into so many things that game developers have been wanting to do in games for such a long time. And I feel like another thing that game developers had to go away from in older games, because everybody wants graphics. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody wants good graphics.
Yeah.
So they had to numb down certain things to make graphics good. Because honestly, I know you know what I'm talking about. The AI in games nowadays are nowhere compared to what it was back then. You know what I mean? AI back then was better in certain games, not all games, in certain games. Like, for a good example, Jak 2 is a game that came out in 2004 or 2003 or 2004. You can literally follow an AI NPC that's walking in the city, and never will they ever walk through a wall or walk into a wall. But if you play Cyberpunk, which is supposed to be, you can literally get an AI walk through a whole entire building or walk through a car. Like, the AI in these newer games are so dumb. They're like, it's so bad that it takes away from the game, because you feel like I don't want to use bad words. I don't want to use insensitive words, but you feel like you're literally playing the game. The AI they have the minds of 2-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's terrible, because they have to focus so much of graphic and CPU power. I mean, the graphics card power and the CPU power on graphics, instead of what really matters is making the game fun. Because this is one of the things that I've really been noticing for the last couple of generations, is games are not as fun as they used to be, because the gameplay has to be more reduced because of graphics. Graphics, frame rates, all that stuff. But I feel like we're going to hit that part, that generation that's coming up soon. We're going to hit that sweet spot where games are going to look good and be fun at the same time. Like, I'm gonna give you a really good example. Doom Eternal what its software was able to do with that game is absolutely ridiculous. This game can run on anything 60 FPS. Even a Switch. I don't know how. I literally do not know how in the world they were able to do this. And Shigeru Miyamoto couldn't do it. The guy who created the Switch can't get games to run 60 FPS on the Switch. But its software figured it out. Its software has somehow figured out that sweet spot of making a game look good, play good, and be fun. They figured it out. Because if you have, like, honestly, like, what's the specs on your PC?
Oh, you're at, God, I don't remember. It's a Core i5 something. I know I don't even remember straight up what it all is. I don't even remember how much RAM I have. It's enough. That's what it's enough. It's enough. It's I know I have I've got a Radeon something or other. So, gosh, you put me on the spot. Now I'm feeling I'm feeling super casual like I am. I built the thing. I built it last year, and I'm trying to remember straight off. It's not an i5. It's I forgot. It's an AMD processor. So, no pressure.
So I looked up the Doom Eternal on a 1050 Ti. If you play Doom Eternal on a 1050 Ti on medium settings, 1080p, you can get 60 FPS. 1080 Ti is a very old graphics card.
Yeah.
I mean, not 1080. I meant 1050 Ti, not 1080 Ti. 1050 Ti. It's a very old graphics card on it, by the way. And it can play it at, 60 FPS medium settings. That is extremely good. You know what I mean? Like, somehow, some way, they were able to figure out how to get this game to run so well on almost everything, man. And and I feel like Doom Eternal is one of those games that is like the crown jewel of performance, gameplay, AI, because the AI in Doom Eternal is ridiculous. If you play Doom Eternal on the hardest difficulty, they literally gang up. It's like they literally plan on ganging up on you. The AI is ridiculous. They figured out how to do all of that, keep graphics and keep FPS. But I feel like every game is going to start getting to that point with these new CPUs. And I mean, the new things, and it's all starting with Intel, because Intel is finally getting their act together. You know what I mean? I'm really excited for Alder Lake. I'm undecided if I'm going to get Alder Lake because there's something coming in the future from Intel. It's coming out next year called Raptor Lake, and I'm very, very, very intrigued with Raptor Lake.
So are you Intel only, or are you agnostic about it? Does it matter which ones?
Well, see, my thing, I don't care, but the problem is my PC was built with Intel in mind.
Right.
Because, AMD, there's certain things that AMD cares about that Intel doesn't care about. Like Intel, you can have 3200 megahertz on your RAM, and Intel will use it just fine. But with AMD, you will actually lose a lot of frames when it comes to the speed of your RAM. You know what I mean? Like if I get AMD CPU, I'll have to get new RAM. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I'm sticking with Intel for now, until AMD figures out how to fix that RAM problem, which is a little annoying. But it's like, I really don't care. Like I said, I'll get either one. Intel, AMD, but and also right now, AMD is a little full of themselves, and they're charging way too much for their CPUs. A 6-core should never be $300. I do not care how good your 6-core is. A 6-core processor should never be $300. There's probably AMD fanboys right now in the comment section going like, "Ah, you're just hating on AMD," not knowing I have a 6800 XT, which is an AMD graphics card inside of my PC. So I don't hate AMD. I actually love AMD, but at the same time, no. A 6-core processor at most should only be $270. It should never be $300. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know what I mean? They were just, in my opinion, they were charging way too much for for their CPUs. That's another reason why I want to get Intel, because Intel is right now the underdog, and they can't overprice their stuff so they can keep people buying it. Because right now, if you want to get the highest brand, the highest AMD CPU, you got to spend almost $800.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to get Alder Lake, the rumor is Alder Lake is only going to be $600 for the highest one.
And let me just say it, as a casual gamer, that $600 is pretty close to what I spent to make this mid-range.
Yeah, it's expensive. PC. It's definitely expensive. Yeah, I agree.
And you were asking my specs, so I got 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM, DRAM. My CPU, I think I ordered it. I'm looking it up on where I ordered it from. So I got a Radeon RX 570 RS Triple X edition. 8 GB.
Well, you got a 570.
Yeah. I don't.
It's okay. That's the graphics card.
Yeah. So Radeon RX 570 RS Triple X edition, 8 gigabyte GDDR5.
That's a good card. Yeah, you got a pretty good deal right there.
And I'm just running an MSI board, and I don't remember what the CPU is, but
you probably got a Ryzen 5 2600X, right?
Something like that. I know it was a Ryzen 5, so it's something like that. And I built this thing last year, so I'm listening to everything you're saying, and I remember when I used to be into computer hardware, but again, I'm a casual. I'm a casual now. I built this computer to be a gaming computer, but also really to be, to sort of do all the, video processing, etc. In order to make the Super Not Funny show. So, my honestly, I stuck everything in there, and that was the last I wanted to think about stuff, because it's, as a casual gamer, hard PC gaming is the least casual thing possible. It is like so far.
You almost have to be an enthusiast nowadays. The PC game.
I mean, which goes back to the idea that the Steam Deck is a good idea, but as far as this CPU is concerned, I mean that sounds great. I hear what you're saying about the upside. It just seems to me like that sort of thing is gonna maybe eventually trickle down or get its way into the next generation of consoles, but it probably won't be something that anyone who isn't just like a hardcore enthusiast is going to see results from. It's not going to trickle down, in other words, to the mid-level and budget stuff for a minute.
See, this is where I should have went into, because I only talked about the big ones. You know how I told you that Intel CPU, their 6-core, which is what you have a 6-core. The 6-core is going to be a 6+4, which basically is going to be sort of like an 8-core, and it's only going to be $250. So it is trickling down. Intel is causing the trickle down effect of, like you said, casuals like you who just want to have something that gives you good gaming performance. You're not looking for enthusiast performance, but as you can see, AMD, who is charging six naked cores for $300, when Alder Lake i5 12600K comes out, it's going to be less than that. It's going to be less than $300, and it's going to be basically an 8-core because it's going to be 6 plus 4,
Right.
and it's going to be 18 threads.
Right. And
that is very appealing for its price.
Like I think from that perspective, the next question is how soon would that be integrated into consumer PCs? Not just as parts, but as integrated components on off the shelf PCs. Because that's really I think that's where really the money is the off the shelf.
Like you mean like Dell?
Yeah, off the shelf computers that Dell and.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be immediate. It's gonna be immediate. Like I think they will get their shipment first before like usually the when it comes to PC parts nowadays, they have paper launches. Where what they mean by paper launch, it's out there, but we as consumers can't buy it straight up. So they'll probably paper launch it in October. That's why I'm hearing October is the release date. They'll paper launch it in October, but we as consumers can't actually buy it off the shelf, the CPU itself, until probably November, around holiday time, November, December, you know what I mean?
Right.
It'll be in gaming PCs. Dell, Lenovo, and all them will probably show off their PCs around that time, like that October-ish. That we have the new PCs with the 12th gen Intel in it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because that's the thing. Because this is what I went because the thing about it is with my PC, I just don't game on it. I do a lot of rendering because that's why I'm interested in the 12900K because of the amount of rendering and stuff that I'll be able to do, the multitasking I can do. But I really should have started going into the mid-range because that's really where, like you said, that's the market. The 6-core, that is where I really feel like Intel can really sock it to AMD because I felt like AMD really charged, like I said, they charge way too much. $300 for a 6-core. And the way people are buying it too, it's just ridiculous. Because you can literally get an 8-core, you can get a i9 9900K for $300, and it's better than that 6-core. You can get you know what I mean? It just, people are just buying it because the 6-core should never be that expensive in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, it's still 6 cores. You know what I mean? I'm paying almost $50 per core? No. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's where I say to this, AMD, Intel is really going to make AMD do better with their mid-range because that's where the market's at. That's where people are going to buy it because, a lot of people, like you said, they don't need 8 cores. Some people just want a game and maybe every so often stream because I think gaming only takes up about, if you play at 1080p or 1440p, only takes about 4 cores, 3 to maybe 4 cores, and then they can use the last 2 cores to stream. You know what I mean? I really feel like that's where the market is because I know a lot of people that want to build PCs now and they're like, oh yeah, they're really shying away from those AMD graphics, CPUs, because they're expensive. 6 cores are way too expensive. Their 6 cores way too expensive. But Intel's 6 cores are very reasonable. They always kept them between that 250 to 280 price range. You know what I mean? 280 price range. Never went up to 300.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be, forward march of progress, and I also, just as an academic understanding of CPUs and whatnot, is the running up against the actual physical limitations of putting these things on the silicon. So I feel like maybe, I don't think we're at a bottleneck yet, but I'm trying to figure out where y'all gonna go with this. they got around it with the cores and all that stuff, but at some point, it's got to reach a physical limitation where you can't.
Yeah,
Actually,
once we hit 1 nanometer, it's over.
Yeah. Well, at my understanding, I've heard this is inside baseball for you guys, but I've heard that they're approaching the scale where what do you call it? Where the physics starts being weird. You're talking about like submolecular, where randomness at the subatomic level starts changing the what would you call it, the predictability of the hardware.
Yeah, because like I said, they're reaching to the point, because like I said, they're already starting. They're going to 5 nanometer. TSMC, who makes these chips, they're moving to 3 nanometer. It's going to get to the point that you literally can't. I know for a fact it is physically impossible to go past 1 nanometer. You cannot go past 1 nanometer. You know what I mean? They might say and lie to everybody, oh yeah, we're a half nanometer or a 4th nanometer. In real life, they're still at 1 nanometer, because you can't go past that size. It's physically impossible. Like you said, you're reaching parts where you physically cannot go past it unless you're going to literally change the like you said, the molecular structure of this stuff.
It's but like I said, forward march to progress. I'm down with that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Maybe my next laptop will be more formidable than the one that I have now. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what? I think we have exhausted our topics for today. Good, lively discussion for the very first Gamercast from the Super Not Funny show. Before we get moving along, what did you guys think about what we were talking about, and what did you think about our commentary? Why don't you get down there to the comment section, let us know what you're thinking about, and of course, if you want to, send us a line, let us know what you think about in a more, I guess in a different format. You can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com, at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. Just send us your thoughts, your ideas for other topics for the Gamercast, all that fun stuff. We really appreciate that. And of course, are you a member of the Super Not Funny Show family? Because if you're not, what are you doing with your life? Get down there, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, hit that notification bell. It'll let you know when we drop more content from the Super Not Funny Show. And, I couldn't do this on my own because, I'm just a casual gamer. What do I know about the hardcore gamery stuff? So, Lottie, thanks again for joining me. Why don't you tell them how they can reach you on your social media?
Oh yeah, you can reach me on at Anukinihun. That is ANUKINIHUN. Again, it's Anukinihun, ANUKINHUN. That's my Instagram, and my YouTube channel is Kinihun25. I drop a lot of videos, contents about the video games that I'm creating, and also I have some gameplay that I'm slowly but surely adding onto my YouTube channel.
Awesome. You guys go check it out. Hit the subscribe to them and comment, do all that fun stuff. Show some love to Lottie, who was dropping all the knowledge today, dropping mad knowledge about computer hardware. All right, all you fabric in the flesh bags, thanks for joining us on this Gamercast. Come back again soon for the Gamercast episode number 2. We're gonna talk about more things that are developing in the world of video games. Until then, I have been Mole Pupe, your resident fabricant and comment extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by my good friend Lottie, the video game enthusiast and designer. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.